Good morning and welcome to Sydney International Airport. I find myself in Sydney this morning after flying in from Perth early yesterday evening. Major storms in Perth 2 days earlier caused a major power outage at the airport, and subsequently my flight had been cancelled, meaning an unexpected overnight stopover in Sydney. The time is currently just gone past 5 a.m. and I'm at the airport super early, around 4 hours to be precise. Today we'll be flying across the Tasman to Wellington on Qantas's Boeing 737 in business class. Compared with Auckland, flights between Australia and Wellington are far less frequent. Nonetheless, the route generally sees at least 2 daily flights, with both Qantas and Air New Zealand operating typically at least 1 daily departure each, although second daily services are not uncommon from either carrier. Unlike on the Sydney to Auckland route, passengers taking direct flights to the New Zealand capital will have to settle for narrow-body aircraft, with Qantas operating its workhorse Boeing 737 on the route, while Air New Zealand operates its A320s, which do not offer a business class cabin. The flight is scheduled at 3 hours and 15 minutes, whilst the return can take slightly longer due to headwinds. The flight was secured as a rewards redemption as part of a Perth to Wellington booking via Sydney for 57,000 points plus $213 in taxes, which was a particularly good value redemption considering if redeemed separately each leg would have cost 41,500 points or a total of 83,000 points. This means while flights across the Tasman start at just 18,000 points plus taxes in economy from the eastern seaboard, flights from Perth through to New Zealand represent extraordinarily good value redemption opportunities, coming especially when flying economy at just 21,000 points, which is a mere 3,000 points more. At Sydney Airport, all international flights depart from Terminal 1, which is at the opposite side of the airfield from the domestic terminals 2 and 3. If transferring between the terminals, I would recommend to allow some extra time, as you either have to take the T-bus, a taxi or train between the stations for the 4-kilometre journey. Unfortunately, Qantas's seamless transfer service only appears to be available for international arrivals at this time. Upon arriving at the terminal, you'll see a large check-in hall located on the second floor. Having arrived so early, the terminal was fairly deserted, so I was able to immediately check in for the flight to Wellington after a Qantas staff member first quickly verified they had my New Zealand Traveller Pass in hand. Soon after that was cited, I was able to use the self-service kiosk and automated bag drop facilities, which only took a minute or two to complete, made the whole process very efficient. The good news is that the priority screening and immigration for business class travellers is now back at Sydney Airport, albeit the former Express Path program has been replaced with the priority lane, which is more restrictive in its eligibility. Nonetheless, being eligible for the priority lane meant I was through security and immigration in mere minutes, though it is still quite pre-dawn time morning. It would have only taken marginally longer for the general public anyway. On today's flight, due to flying business, I had access to the Qantas International Business Lounge. On arrival at the lounge, I was swiftly greeted by a friendly staff member who are more than happy to process your lounge entry, or otherwise eligible passengers are free to self-scan their own boarding pass to gain entry. In the lounge, there's plenty of comfortable and varied seating options, allowing for both leisure and work, with some partially obscured views of the apron. Being an international lounge, the quality, availability and choice of options in the lounge generally sees a noticeable improvement over Qantas' domestic lounges and of course the Qantas Club. Food available for this mid-morning Thursday morning flight out of Sydney consists of a self-serve buffet serving popular continental breakfast favourites, in addition to both self-service and barista-made coffee freely doing the rounds. A notable design feature of this lounge is its long, narrow sit-up bar table, which offers self-serve wines and grazing foods. A significant difference to many of Qantas's domestic lounges is that alcoholic beverages are self-serve and alcohol is available at any time the lounge is open, which contrasts with Qantas domestic lounges where it's only available after noon. Free and fast Wi-Fi is also available for those who need to get down to work or be productive. After an enjoyable few hours or so having breakfast in a well-made flat light, I quickly found it time to board my flight. Today's flight was on a typical Boeing 737-800, which is a workhorse behind most of Qantas's and Virgin's services between Australia's capital cities. Qantas's Boeing 737 has a free economy layout with a small free row 2-2 business cabin at the pointy end of the plane. Today I was seated in business in seat 1F, which is one of the few remaining seats left that are selected online free of charge prior to checking in. Unlike the other two rows in business, due to safety considerations, all carry-on must be stored in the overhead compartments for takeoff and landing. On the right-hand side in row 1 means no seat in front and plenty of space between the seat and bulkhead in front, though that does mean the in-flight entertainment screen has to be stowed in the armrest for takeoff and landing. After leaving the lounge much closer to the boarding time, by now the airport had gotten much busier, with several Dreamliners bound for North America departing from nearby gates, making our Qantas 737 taking us to Wellington today to look rather tiny. Boarding would commence on schedule ahead of our 9:40am departure. This morning's service to Wellington was very close to being a full flight, with the business cabin being completely occupied. On this flight, the New Zealand-based cabin crew certainly had their work made out for them, and whilst professional at all times, naturally such a full flight meant service times did take even longer, even for business class. For its services between Australia and New Zealand, Qantas flights are operated by its wholly owned subsidiary Jet Connect, who operate the flights with a New Zealand-based crew, with the motives for such arrangements well publicised and debated in the media for quite some time. Unlike the previous domestic flight between Perth and Sydney the previous day, pre-departure service got off to a much better and frankly expected start. Pre-departure drinks were offered with a choice of either sparkling water or the nondescript champagne. With the drinks coming out already poured on a tray with no bottle in sight, there was no way to confirm whether it was actually the real McCoy or just the usual. Qantas business class seats on the 737 come equipped with comfortable leather recliner seats with a generous 94cm seat pitch and up to 56cm width between arms. They are more than adequate and perfectly comfortable for daytime trips across Qantas's domestic Trans-Tasman and short-haul international airport. They are far inferior to Qantas's A330 121 domestic business class cabin. So now we are aircraft firmly taxiing from the gate. It's a great time to sit back, relax and enjoy our departure out of Sydney today, where we'll be flying out over Botany Bay and out over the Pacific Ocean, where it will take a little over 2 hours until we reach landfall over New Zealand's South Island. began approximately half an hour after takeoff, with crew coming around to personally take post-departure drink orders. I asked for a Scotch and Coke, which they offered Chivas Regal 12-year-old. I chose a stir-fry with pepper oyster sauce for lunch, which was tasty and came accompanied by sourdough bread, and dessert, which was hot washed down by a tasty Little Creatures Pacific Ale and a subsequent James Squire 150 lashes pale ale. All in all, the meal service was reasonably tasty and well portioned, and in line with what I'd expect, although I'd be inclined to compare Qantas Trans-Tasman catering to be more in common with domestic business class than its long-haul international services. During the remaining few hours of the flight, the crew did several rounds offering the several red and white wines on offer, though for anything else, passengers had to largely ask the crew, were happy to oblige, and did well to remember the customer's preferred drink. Overall, the cabin crew were professional and service was good, albeit a little slow and not overly personalised. Although I don't objectively think this is necessarily the fault of the crew, but just the staffing demands and high volumes of passengers. Unlike several previous domestic flights on Qantas, this Boeing 737 did come equipped with seat back or in-arm in-flight entertainment for business class passengers. Unfortunately, I found the screens to be old and small, with poor responsiveness and the reflectiveness from the sunlight making it hard to use or easily view content. For this reason, I didn't bother using IFE, aside from viewing the moving map, and focused on enjoying the business class service instead. Unfortunately, this service did not come equipped with or activated with the usual free Wi-Fi for browsing the web, which is available on a large amount of Qantas's domestic fleet. As far as we are aware, in-flight Wi-Fi, even if installed on the aircraft, is not available on Qantas's international services. For those who rely on a good entertainment to get through a longer flight, I would recommend bringing your own device slow with content, just in case you don't fancy Qantas's limited offering. In little over 2 hours after takeoff and one in the clock forward 2 hours, we finally made landfall over the northern extremities of New Zealand's South Island, which made for a spectacular descent into Wellington over the northern parts of the snow-capped Southern Alps. What's particularly impressive about this flight is the descent coincides with the crossing of the Cook Strait, giving you great views of the crossing between the South and North Islands in less than 15 minutes before landing into Wellington Airport, which is at the southern tip of the North Island. Overall, the merits and advantages of flying business class on a Trans-Tasman flight must be weighed up against a variety of factors, most notably cost, flight duration, and possibly most importantly aircraft type. In most cases, when flying on a narrow-bodied aircraft, such as this case on a Qantas 737, passengers should expect staying more accustomed to premium economy on an international flag carrier, which is certainly a comfortable step up from economy, but neither comparable to a long-haul international business class operated by wide-body aircraft. This expectation turned out to be very much in line with the experience of this flight.
Now that we are ready to start our descent, what better way than to let the scenery do the talking, sit back, relax, and enjoy this magnificent descent into Wellington International Airport.
to Wellington, everyone. The local time here is 2:43. The emaciated witnesses are coming up signed up. As always, smoking, vaping, and cigarettes is not permitted while disembarking or throughout the terminal. Please take care when opening the overhead lockers as baggage may be closed and could fall out. Before leaving, ensure you check your seatbelt and take personal items.
We land slightly early around 2:30 p.m. on an unusually mild, although all too blustery afternoon into the often referred to windy welly. For me, this flight offered the benefit of premium lounge access, more personalised service and improved dining and drink selection than economy, and a more comfortable seat with greater legroom. Sure, it was a pleasant upgrade than flying economy, but would it be worth the cash price, sometimes upwards of $2,000, and many times the cost of coach, which is already all-inclusive on Qantas? We'd probably say absolutely not. However, if redeemed as a Qantas Classic flight reward for around 41,500 points plus tax, which is just over double the amount of points for economy redemption, then this is definitely a reasonable investment to outlay some points on, although the high tax charge on this route may not make it as lucrative a redemption compared to some of the other routes or similar durations. I hope you've enjoyed today's Qantas Business Class review. I would appreciate if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with the many new and upcoming video reviews that are planned for the coming weeks and months ahead. Please also visit my website aussiejetsetter.com.au, or I'll put the link in the description below, where you can find more on the latest lounge reviews, flights reviews, destination, travel guides, frequent flyer, industry news and more. But until next time, thanks for watching and safe travels wherever that might take you.